Let's go. This is the Oz report for February 23rd, 2025. And let's go look at our dashboard and see what Plex and Plex adjacent items are doing. So Plex overall about the same as last week. We do have that 50% off starter pack sale going on, which is, it's massive value, but it has been going for a while. It ends tomorrow, I think, possibly Tuesday. I think people have been taking advantage of it. A lot of people had already purchased it before, so they couldn't anymore. What this does, it just keeps Plex at very high prices, and it doesn't let it go down. So, Plex stuck at fairly high 18% over 52-week average. If we look at the in-game client here, we are at, 6.2 sell order in the forge, which is it's high. It's high, and we've had a lot of discussions on, okay, where is this going to go? And I think, the way forward, the path forward for Plex prices to go down is to get inflation in check by trimming some of those faucets that we have in place, hopefully restoring the sales tax to its July state before it was halved. And then I think combine that with possibly a war or two so that we get some Plex injection from people, from some credit card warriors buying Plex and selling it in-game. And in that combination, we possibly will see a normalization of Plex pricing. It has shown some robustness, Plex. So the last sales didn't derail Plex as much as it would have before. And so I think a lot of people also tapped out on these sales. These sales don't have the humongous effect that they used to in the new Eden store. And so with the current situation, if we look back at the dashboard, Plex is at, still at 0.1 to 0.2 trade days available. So still Plex supplies incredibly low, right? Incredibly low. And the price not coming down because of it. Expected to come down a little bit when the sale ends, but who knows what CCP has up their sleeves for the next month in terms of sales. Skill injectors are down 1%, trading just below 52-week average. Again, a lot of this has to do with skill farms liquidating these injectors. I don't see them rising in price sharply anytime soon. They're probably going to stay more or less where they are. If we look at their trajectory in game lately, you can see that they have stabilized a little bit, and lately they've been coming back down again. So right now, skill injectors are historically cheap, and a lot of that has to do with the need for skill farms to liquidate these injectors to actually get the Plex that is just rare in the market and quite expensive. Skill extractors are unchanged this week, and what that means is if we look at the skill farming formula here, we can see that right here, we can see that if I make that a little bit bigger, you're still losing $1 billion on a skill farming account if you sub with the 12 months Plex price. We made this calculation for the latest sale that was going on in January. There, with 50% off Omega and MCTs, skill farmers were able to turn that into about I think a 300 to 500 million profit per account. So that's the only way skill farmers are making money right now. It's only the large skill farms that are able to gather a lot of Plex and take advantage of these big sales that are making money. Everyone else is not really making money skill farming. Let's quickly talk about Mastodon cerebral accelerators because I'm on the sheet. We saw a week ago when the brain freeze cerebral accelerators ceased to function, expired, we saw somebody going in and buying out the Master-at-Arms cerebral accelerators to absurd prices. Since then, they have normalized and they're now exactly at equilibrium. So this is where you want the market to be. So right now, if you're looking at which cerebral accelerators make sense, the Master-at-Arms cerebral accelerator and the Boost cerebral accelerators from the New Eden store, they are basically the same value. So whether you buy Master-at-Arms ones or you buy Plex and buy Boost ones in the New Eden store, it really doesn't matter in terms of the ISK per SP. Obviously, if you throw large skill injectors in the mix, then you want to watch out for the amount of SP that you have to decide which one is makes the most sense. But essentially, anything over 5 million SP, Master-at-Arms cerebral accelerators or the Boost cerebral accelerators are going to be the most efficient way for you, efficient way for you to gain SP. And the New Eden store ones have longer duration, so if you're out there for convenience, then those might be your biggest choice. Okay. Now let's go back to the market dashboard. Other things to mention this week is that Moon materials are continuing to slide massively. So we have another, and across the board, we have 8% down on R4 Moon materials, 7% down on R8 Moon materials, 4 and 5% down on R16 and R32. So clearly oversupply in Moon material. That is the main input factor for tier 2 manufacturing. And this is despite very high manufacturing numbers. And so this is a clear indicator that in the long run, Moon materials are just going to settle in a much, much cheaper price point, mostly because of Metanox Moon mining. And this has a big impact on the EV economy because tier 2 manufacturing is a big, big part of it, right? Because in the end, even if mineral prices are spiking, moon material prices being low is keeping a lot of the tier 2 pricing for ships and modules in check, which is, good in the overall scheme of things because it provides alternatives. Tier 2 modules and ships provide a lot of bang for your buck when moon material pricing is low. So the downside of that obviously is people are making less money manually mining moons. However, if you look at R32 and R64 moons, pricing is about 20% above 52-week average. So those moons are still providing a lot of good revenue in terms of mining. Minerals, everyone's talking about minerals. There was a big announcement by CCP Okami on the official EVE Discord that CCP are not happy with the way that mineral pricing and mining is going right now. He doesn't say any specifics, but he says to look out for a dev blog that is coming out with more details. One reason why CCP came out with that announcement on their official Discord is because we as a CSM have been begging them for a long time to just say something. Because if you don't say anything at all, then you're leaving Reddit to those people that are saying the sky is falling and the high mineral prices are destroying the game. If you don't at least acknowledge that, that there might be an issue and that you're working on a fix with the CSM together, then you're just leaving the field to them. I am very happy with the way that they have handled this. And so now everyone knows that they're working on a fix, something is coming, and fix in quotation marks there. And whatever result that will mean, you guys can speculate on the market. But you did see, for example, on the same day that announcement was made, you already saw a significant dip in pyrite prices. That hasn't held. So overall, mineral prices actually went up this week by over 1%. So it's the announcement alone hasn't fixed anything. But yeah, as Remy says in chat, more fight still at a very, very, very high level, and certainly also has an impact on moon materials, but that is something to be discussed in the long stream. Let me just say, point out Abyssal materials here, up 26% this week. So not only up, but also basically wiped out from the market. Popularity of Triglavian ships where these are in. So I'm talking Vetmax, Ikitursas, Leshaks, Kikimoras, have almost dried up the entire supply of Abyssal materials. The effect of that is running Abyssal content very, very profitable right now. So go out and do that. If you have stockpiles of Abyssal materials, so crystalline isogen 10 or 0-point condensate, if you have those lying around, now is a very good time to sell them and look for a price hike in all things Triglavian, because there is absolutely a crisis right now in the supply of these. And this is really not CCP made. This is player dynamics. This is dependent on the stockpiles that are out there, depending on the player running that content. Certainly, Abyssal content is fun content that a lot of people can run, but that people will run mostly as quote unquote farming or crabbing, quote unquote, not when there's other large battles going on. So I think most players will prefer wars and larger battles over the farming, quote unquote, content. And so when you have more of the one going on, you have less of the other going on. That's always been the case in EVE Online, and that is sometimes how bottlenecks are created. But overall, it's just an incentive for people to go back out there and run this content. And especially with Abyssal content, I don't think there's a lot of excuses to not run it, because it's incredibly fun. Except for that it's instanced content and it will trigger some people in EVE Online. But in terms of content, absolutely lots of fun. If we look at there's two things I want to mention. I want to take a little bit more of a macro view on today's Oz report. One is, I mentioned that earlier on stream, but ship pricing. It's not like ship prices have doubled, all right? Ship prices over the year are up about 6 to 10%, with the exception of battleships, which are very mineral dependent, and a lot of tier 1 battleships are flown. So battleships overall up 15%. That is pretty significant. And battle cruisers, but that's also because new very expensive battle cruisers were introduced. And so all the other ships are up about 6 to 10%. So that is significant inflation, but it's not completely out of control. And so it's not like ships are completely unaffordable. With the caveat of capital ships, I've said this many of times. I think capital ships are much more out of balance, and we need to have a better look at them. But subcap ship pricing is not prohibitive right now, especially not compared to the amount of IS that you can make. All right. If you're looking at modules, this week was quite significant, because modules as a whole went up in price a lot, especially if you look at Dead Space modules, faction modules. Some of these are huge markets, right? And still they went up quite significantly. And that is not necessarily raw material pricing, that is increase in demand. So we're seeing a lot of these modules up in trade volume, because we're seeing large battles, because we're seeing a lot of demand for these modules. We're seeing new doctrines. We're seeing a lot of demand from the market, which is a great thing. So we're seeing destruction up, production up, we're seeing trading up, and overall, that's a very, very good sign for EVE Online as a game. And so if you're into manufacturing these modules, you're going to try to fill that increased demand. If you're into farming LP, right now is a great time to go out there and make sure you pick the right faction modules to trade in for your with your LP, because that's where you're going to be making a lot of money right now. Dread Gorista's modules up 19%, True Sancha modules up 11%, Imperial Navy up 7%. So that is absolutely a big price hike for modules, and don't necessarily expect this to stay. Faction module prices are a bit more sticky because it requires somebody to actually go out there and trade in for these items, and it requires there to be stockpiles in LP. Tier 2 typically not as sticky and not as bouncy because the supply of raw materials and modules and production lines is typically higher. Yeah. So bit of a more macro Oz report today. I think let's quickly look at our dashboard and see if there's something sticking out. Possibly, I mean, a big one is Thunder Child or Thunder Children. Battleships, 80% drop in supply. So clearly people want to go out and rat in Thunder Childs, and people are buying up the supply in the forge. That's a big one. It's a very big drop. We already talked about Abyssal materials, very big drop. You see various Dead Space modules here that are being bought out in Jita and the Forge, so that's a big one. And a huge one is robotics. Okay, robotics is a planetary commodity that is used in that is probably used the most in different parts of space. One big one is reactions, for example. Fuel blocks use them, right? And so robotics being bought out 70% is very big in the forge. So this is massive. In short supply, the golem in very short supply, and various fullerenes. So these are wormhole gads. So C84 and C28 in very low surprise and all in supply, and all of this points towards big supply chains being replenished. There are a lot of very large producers buying large quantities of things, of raw materials right now, and there's alliances buying and individuals buying large amounts of ships. So all of this is a very good sign for the EVE economy right now. As Likely's saying in chat, robotics also go in all weapons and tier 2 drones as well. So robotics, in terms of PI, a very big very various implications on robotics. I don't know why they picked robotics as the one that is used for other things, but I guess it's in the name. Yeah. Trending down this week, honestly, hydrocarbons and silicates are 4 moon materials dropping 10%, and tungsten R8 moon material dropping 17%. Is just moon material oversupply, clearly, and that's even in these very very much higher production times. The Vorton tuning system up 27% in price. That's just the weapon being used on the Thunder Child, so that's to be expected. And Fullerites again rising in price is an indication of the lack of supply of them. If you look at the most underpriced category, it's all moon materials or advanced moon materials. So reaction materials. So these are the large trade volume items that are trading the most below 52-week average. And this is how you can see how much of an impact this has had. Pretty crazy that moon materials are that cheap right now. All right. I think that's it. And just a reminder, as usual, you can go onto theoz.space and you can look at basically the same information with a little bit different criteria for yourself. So if you want to do your own market analysis, you don't want to hear me going on about it every week on YouTube or Twitch or on the podcast, you can just go here and do your own analysis. You can even choose some of the parameters yourself, like the minimum number of trades per day or the minimum trade volume per day. So do your own analysis. It's all here. Trending up, trending down, oversupply, undersupply. It's all there. Thanks to Sentence from Quantum Anomaly to make this happen. I'll post the link to this in chat. And yes, as Snowdev is pointing out in chat, this copy to Quickbar is not working yet. It will be hopefully working at some point. All right. We're going to return to the regular stream, and I will see you guys on the Oz Report next week.